And now, a First Coast News special presentation, Hurricane Sandy Relief.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Shannon Ogden. Glad you're with us tonight. The Northeast still reeling after Superstorm Sandy. Power outages lingering. There is widespread damage still. And once we saw just how powerful the impact would be, we launched something called Operation Sandy Relief, getting your donations up there to help those storm victims. And those donations are now getting to those who need them. Our Katie Jeffries traveled from here to there. She is live tonight in Manahawkin, New Jersey, a very hard-hit area. Katie?
That's right. This was an area that was devastated by Sandy, as you can see by all the debris around me here. And the families here are very, very grateful for all of your donations because many of them can't even spend the night in their homes. And here's a little bit on how your donations are helping.
What was loaded quickly by forklifts in Jacksonville, Florida, was unloaded slowly but steadily by hands in Trenton, New Jersey. In each of these boxes is relief. Relief from hunger, relief from thirst, and relief from the cold.
We are happy to be part of what is going on, and we are happy to be the church that was chosen to do the distribution.
Half of your donation will be here in Trenton, and the rest will be traveling to Manahawkin, to King of Kings Community Church. Here, your donations will join others from across the country.
We really need to show people hope, and there is hope.
Janice Dryborough says right now they have plenty of clothes, but they need things like cleaning products, space heaters, and volunteers, and will likely need donations for months to come as people work to get back into their homes.
This is not a flavor of the day. This catastrophe is going to last for many months to come.
And as people begin to put their lives together, the community here is thankful for all the donations, especially those who grew up on the First Coast, like Mary Jo Rothstein, who now lives in Manahawkin.
My brother Joey, Joe Smith and Mary Lynn Smith from Jacksonville, my brother called me and said, you know, Emge, you know, we just sent up 2 tractor trailers, and I just thank everybody for all their donations and all.
And Mary Jo was so thankful. She was nearly in tears when she was speaking to us because everyone in the First Coast reacted so quickly when that call for help went out. Now, we want to take just one more moment and show you another spot here in Beach Haven West where your donations will be going.
We are in an area called Beach Haven West, and we just wanted to take you guys on a drive to kind of show you the devastation down here. This area is by the water, and you can see that people have had to literally rip everything out of their homes. All of their furniture, all of their carpeting, everything is sitting outside of their homes right now, just absolutely destroyed. And crews are down here trying to help, but there just are not enough volunteers to get to everyone in time, which is really, really sad. But you can see just how awful this is. You can imagine what it would be like if it happened to you. This is everything you own that has been torn apart and is out on the road.
Now, what people need here are cleaning supplies, they need space heaters, they need food, and they need volunteers if you're able to volunteer your time to come up here and help. Live in Manahawkin, New Jersey, Katie Jeffries, First Coast News.
Katie, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And so many different efforts here on the First Coast to help those people there. And one person helping out is helping out in a big way, Brittany Henney. Do you recognize the last name? Yes, that Henney, wife of Jags, Chad Henney, and Aaron Hawley joins us live downtown this evening. Aaron?
Brittany Henney has family affected by Sandy. She knew she had to help, knew she had to rally others to do the same. I sat down with her today.
Now, Brittany, tell me a little bit about how you got involved with the efforts.
It started out, I just saw the First Coast News drives that they were hosting for the Sandy relief efforts, and I figured that it was something that I had to be able to do, and the easiest thing that I thought of was getting the Jags community together because I feel like we're a big family, and trying to pool all of our resources. And the other thing that I thought was it was so convenient to bring things to the game and just drop them off in my car. Nobody would have an excuse that way that it was too far away or they didn't have time.
And you and Chad are originally from up north, so you've got family affected by
We are, yeah. Our family's in Pennsylvania and New York. We vacation at the Jersey Shore every year for so long, pretty much until we went to college. So it's like a second home to us. And I just wanted to help out because I knew that if I were in the position, I would want help also.
And your family up there, how are they doing?
Our family's doing well. Everybody was pretty much spared. My brother is in Long Island, and he just lost power. His fiance's in Manhattan, and she was spared as well, but she could see the devastation in the FDR and a bunch of the highways. And then her family is in Binghamton, New York, and all scattered around New York. They had a lot of problems, but I think they're back on their feet.
And you were saying that one of the big issues of even trying to get places up there is just gas.
Yeah, I spoke with my brother's fiance's mother, and she was telling me that they offered a bunch of their family members that were having no power, you know, water in their houses, whatever. They offered them a place to stay at their home, and they said they couldn't make it because they didn't have enough gas and no way to get it.
Those guys up there, I mean, they just really weren't prepared.
Exactly. I feel like, you know, living in South Florida before we moved here, we had a lot of warnings and watches and everything, and so we kind of knew how to be prepared. And we always have extra water and batteries and flashlights. And so when they say be prepared, we feel like we're not doing anything, but that's because we already are prepared. And I think that in New York, they're not used to this, and so I feel like they weren't prepared, and it's not their fault, but it just couldn't come at a worse time for them.
And you've got some of the other Jaguars' wives involved as well.
That's right. We had a couple people donated some money, monetary donations to either the United Way or directly to your station, and they could do whatever they please with it. And then a bunch of other coaches' wives and players' wives brought food, clothing, water, anything you can imagine.
And the response was overwhelming, and you did fill up your car and drop off a huge load. Exactly. And how did that feel?
Well, it was so great. It was so amazing. I was so glad that that I was able to. I mean, my car, we were stuffing things in, and then when I got finished unloading, I was ready to pull away. I got back in the car, and I said, hey, you guys didn't unload my front seat. I still, there was room there. You guys didn't unload that. And after the game, I came out, and there was another car filled with stuff in the trunk to give to me that I had missed for my first stop, so I brought that back the next day. It was great. I was so happy.
And again, you guys having kind of firsthand account family up there, how appreciative are they of all of these donations rolling up there?
I've gotten so many thank yous, even from people that I don't know. There was someone from New Jersey that that saw one of your articles and contacted me personally and said, I don't know you, but I want to thank you so much for what you're doing. You don't understand how much it means to us and how much we can use this, and we just really appreciate it. So, I mean, that touched me as it was.
You can still give, and donations are still needed. Mission Harvest is still accepting donations at 69 Copeland Street. That's down by the Prime Osborne. And what they really need now are donations of things like food and personal care items like shampoo, mini soaps, things like that. Live downtown tonight, Aaron Hawley, First Coast News.
Aaron, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And as Sandy made impact, several of our team members were there to cover it. Caitlin Ross, you can see, joins me about covering that. So what were your initial impressions when you got into the strike zone?
Well, basically, we got on the road, and we're driving north, and as we're getting closer and closer, all we're passing are utility trucks, tree trucks, basically people going to help, and then everybody else is getting out.
And I'm trying to remember the timeline of when you went up there. It was still offshore. It hadn't done its thing yet when you left, correct?
We were driving up as it hit.
Okay.
So we were driving as the storm was hitting up north. So we didn't really hit any really severe weather until Virginia. And then we really got the windshield wipers going.
And also, if I remember right, it was a 180 as far as temperature, too. I mean, you left here, and it was lovely, and I think you ended up in a winter coat and snow.
Yeah, it got very cold very quickly. And actually, as we were driving through Virginia, we got out of the car at one point, and it was like, okay, we're not really prepared for this. We maybe need to make a stop and get things a little bit warmer
here. You know,
here.
Kate, what struck me as we see some of this video is that it's and you can leave that up if you like, it's very familiar scenes. The tops of houses, people in canoes that we see in the South during hurricane season. But what was strange is that was the setting. These were the houses of the Northeast. These are the houses and the faces and the geography and the trees of not the South. And it just like it didn't compute.
Right. It was very jarring. And speaking to people there, it was jarring for them as well because, you know, a lot of the people we spoke with said, you know, I'll drive through 6 feet of snow in a second, but give me a hurricane, I don't know what to do. One of the guys we interviewed actually had lived in Jacksonville for more than a decade, and he kind of got sick thick of all of the hurricanes, etc. So he said, I'm moving north, and then the hurricane hit him, and he was kind of like, what's going on here?
And you have a little interview that you did earlier.
Yes, actually, I spoke with somebody in Brooklyn who's trying to figure out how they're going to help at this point. And so what they did was they set up a wedding registry on Amazon for the people impacted by the storm.
Oh, what a good idea.
So, absolutely, right, and they're getting the things that they need.
Let's listen to that interview.
So what we've done is we've put exactly the items that are needed on the registry. So every day we're getting multiple updates about what's needed in certain areas. So at first it was mainly items that would create light. So we had flashlights and candles and battery-powered items. And now we've moved more into thermal clothing. We had a snowstorm last night, and so we have thermal clothes. We have construction items, so people are going to start building back their communities. And we're really updating the registry constantly.
And so that's what she's talking about there, is that the things that she's updating that registry with are helping people rebuild.
That's very nice. Caitlin, thank you very much. Glad you're back safe and sound. And this storm went by a lot of different names. They called it Frankenstorm and Superstorm. Tim dubbed it Polarcane, I think. Now, to show the factors that went into making this storm so powerful, speaking of Tim Deegan and Mike Pringley join us now. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Shannon. And we should mention that both of us have spent time in that area as younger men. Exactly. Boys. I was Timmy Deegan with the crew cut in Wilmington, Delaware, but our family would go to the Jersey Shore.
Or Ocean City, Maryland.
Every summer.
Yes.
We actually went to Sea Isle City where the I went ashore, and you spent time down there as well. So it's just wild to see what they did have from Sandy.
It was, and you and I love tracking storms. But when we saw this thing in the Weather Center, we had this big circle in your calendar about 2 weeks before it hit, and all the models were incredible as far as their consistency on not only how where the storm was heading, but how huge it was going to be.
And where it came from. As Mike mentioned, we don't always necessarily think that hurricane models are going to be correct 15 days out, but we did circle the calendar that said late in October, a hurricane would come out of the Caribbean and head toward the Bahamas, and in fact, that did occur, and not only was it a hurricane, it became a large one.
Right. In fact, so we look at the biggest storms on record. Now, when we say wind field of 39 miles per hour or higher, we've got...
That's gale force.
Gale force, okay. And look at that list. I mean, Sandy's leading the list. We got 945 miles. So put that in perspective.
Well, and what stands out to me, Mike, is that as bad as Igor and Olga were, the majority of what they did was over the ocean.
Right.
Whereas pretty much everything Sandy had to offer came right back where the most densely populated area of the country.
The worst possible area. So as we look at the damaging wind swath, this is really what sticks out. The hurricane hunters were sending us, and we were decoding these reports, Tim, and we were just amazed at the swath of damaging winds.
I think both amazed of what they found, but also that the computer models forecast that this was going to happen. And I would say 10, 15 years ago, we would say, no way. But increasingly, the computer models do a good job, and they were indicating 5, 6 days out, this intense hurricane would combine with the polar jet stream, a polar vortex really that would drop out of Canada and would create this, what as Shannon mentioned, I call a polarcane, whatever you want to call it. It's this incredible combination of tropical and polar energy.
And what was interesting, those models, you know, since 1851, we've never had a system like this coming out of the tropics and then take that left hook toward the East Coast. So that's what really stood out to me. We're talking all the way back to 1851, Tim, but...
Well, you know, occasionally, not always exactly this scenario, but occasionally, as you know, late in the hurricane season, we talk about two systems that combine, but we'll say something synonymous with, well, the only concern are the shipping lanes, because typically the polar westerlies, the jet stream, take them east.
Exactly.
And yet the polar westerlies were not there to do that.
Right. In fact, as we look at the maps here, it moved inland, weakened, but not until we're talking about damage all the way back into Lake Erie.
Well, Lake Erie beach erosion, they're talking about some of the worst beach erosion they've had in 2 or 3 generations.
Right. So just giving you an idea of how big this thing was. Now, Sandy Relief, I did get a chance to go with Caitlin. She was talking about those utility trucks going up I-95, and Tim,
well, I remember your tweet saying this is wild. I just see an army of utility vehicles heading north.
That's right. And notice how blue the skies were. Just really eerie. It went from blue skies to this big wall of clouds as it went north. There's our Operation Sandy heading north to help out. And then we got to D.C. And D.C., one of the busiest cities in the world.
And
it
you
was
say
a ghost
that was
town.
just the fringes, right?
This is
really?
just the fringes. Yeah, this is about 200 miles from where that center hit in New Jersey. And look at that. We got these big trees down. In most of the city, D.C. was shut down. Not only were the roads closed, but the government was. So it was tough just getting around. But it was really weird seeing a ghost town. And then here we go.
Are you smiling or grimacing there?
I'm smiling because you know how I like snow.
We're going to throw it back to Shannon and then try to answer some of the questions about, does this have anything to do with climate change?
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
And Caitlin Ross traveled with Mike Prangley, and I think it's always good to travel with your own personal meteorologist, so it's always very handy. Don't leave home without him. Now, much more of our special Hurricane Sandy relief, and next there are a couple of students from UNF sitting right over there who will join us. They are actually getting ready to get knee-deep into all this help. And here I want to show you some of the people from the Northeast who would like to say thank you.
We thank you all. It's just incredible.
We want to give them a big thank you, a big hug, and say a big thank you to them.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
That is amazing that you guys have come all the way up here to help us. I mean, I'm so thrilled. I am so happy over that, and you guys are just phenomenal to reach out to us at this point. I know we reached out to Katrina, and to see this coming back and forth, it just shows lines on a map don't mean anything. People care about people, and you guys are the best.
Well, all we can say is thanks to the people that made a donation, because, I mean, when other people are in crisis, the best thing to do is to help, you know.
And I'm glad you tuned in. We have a special report for you tonight. First for you, Hurricane Sandy relief, because so many of you, so many people from the First Coast are helping out, and even some of them making the trek up to the Northeast to help. And I'm joined by two of these gentlemen, Anthony Williams and Juan Villatoro. Nice to see you both students at UNF. I assume you're together.
Yes.
Okay, nice shirts. So tell me, let's start with you, Anthony, what you plan on doing and why you're heading up there.
Well, we plan on distributing the food to as many people who need it as possible. Basically, we're like going there to help out in any way we can.
So you're taking food with you up there?
Yes.
Or just helping in the distribution of the food that's already there?
We'll be taking food from
really?
Mission Harvest.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
It kind of grew. We approached Dr. Painter to see if we could get some food that we were planning to go out there. It turns out he's like, we have as much food as you want to take, and you tell us what your plan of attack is, and if it makes sense, then I'll give you all the food you want.
And Juan, you are from New York City?
Yes, I'm actually from Woodside, Queens.
So how did your family and friends do up there?
We were fortunate not to...
Far enough north, I guess, they didn't really see too much.
Yes, they didn't see much. Now, between New Jersey and Long Island is where the areas that were affected the most. The closest to Woodside was Far Rockaway, and that's one of those sites that we're going to be distributing food and toiletry from Mission Harvest.
So, Anthony, why did you choose to sign on? Obviously, I mean, you're obviously a decent person. You want to help out, but why not give money? Why not just be empathetic toward these people? Why actually get up and travel 700 miles north?
Well, I have a thought like, why not? I'm not doing anything with my time. I have lots of free time, and they need help. So why not just do something? Money can only go so far,
well,
but action goes further.
That's a heck of an answer. If we could package that somehow and distribute it. Thank you very much. We wish you all the best, and you're doing an important work. Juan Villatoro and Anthony Williams, UNF students, so I know everybody wishes you well. Now, so many people from the First Coast are stepping up to help with this. A local Red Cross volunteer is on her way now to New York. Her name is Linda Connolly, and she's also an RN, a registered nurse, and she's going to help with whatever needs helping with. And Connolly is the 11th volunteer deployed from our area.
And then my leather. We are going to be working in the shelters, and we do any medical tasks that need to be done. We do intake, and we monitor, because you know a lot of times you'll get diabetics, hypertensive, those with chronic illnesses into the shelter. So the nurses will monitor those and make sure they have their medicines and there's no communicable diseases or infectious diseases. So you monitor the state of the population that's in the shelter.
And she is going to go see how she can help. She's going to go a little further up into White Plains, New York. And still to come, Sandy's wild weather and climate change. Is there a link? Well, probably. We're going to take a look at that next. All right, as we talk about, we're going to try to see the link between Sandy and climate change. Forgive my posture. Here's Tim and Mike once again.
Hey, thank you, Shannon. Yes, this storm, of course, not a typical storm. We called it Superstorm Sandy, and it looks like this was more than just a link to climate change.
Well, I like the way Shannon put it. Yes. He said we're going to try. And that is that, as you know, whereas science has pretty much been there since the 90s, that climate change is going on. The attempt has been, how do we explain that? How fast or not is it happening? And so we've gone back and forth because Mike and I talk to groups all the time, whether it's 5th graders or senior citizens. How do we cover this subject? And so we were talking today, and I tried this today. So tell me what you think about this.
Okay.
What I tried today was the idea of, suppose I know of a relative who has lung cancer. We can't prove that that particular cigarette caused the lung cancer. But the odds are the fact that you smoked, you have heart disease.
Got it.
We can't prove that the fact that you're 100 pounds overweight causes heart disease, but, and I think that's where we, at least when I say we in science are now, we can't prove any one particular event means this shows climate change, but the overall evidence is the new normal is happening.
Right, and speaking of that new normal, let's look at some of the factors that we're looking at, Tim. Things we've never seen before. Your average sea ice.
Amazing.
It should be at 2.6 million square miles. This was from 1979 to 2000. Well, we look at a new record that was just set back in September of this year, and we've lost about half our sea ice.
And people may say, well, so what? Well, there's actually a double feedback there, because if you have ice over water, that water can't warm up. Now that the ice has melted, not only does that show it's melting, but now that water can warm up and this can happen.
Right, and we've seen blocking highs. Meteorologists, we track these blocking highs, but we're starting to see this happen all too often, much more often than it normally did, because, and one of the links is, a lack of sea ice brings these big blocking high pressures over the north, and that's one of the things that steered Sandy a different way.
So instead of the polar westerlies taking things from west to east,
watch what it did to the jet stream.
You take Sandy from the east back to, unfortunately, the west.
So you saw how the jet streams came together there, and basically what we're seeing now are new weather patterns we've never seen before across the area. So we'll continue to track that and our new pattern here, Tim.
We're going to take a break for now. We'll be right back.
And listen, you can still give. Mission Harvest is still accepting donations at 69 Copeland Street, downtown Jax. It's right by the Prime Osborne Center. At this point, they need food and personal care items, maybe those little mini shampoo and soaps.
First Coast News thanks all of our business partners who help make Operation Sandy Relief possible. United Way of Northeast Florida, Mission Harvest America, American Red Cross of Northeast Florida, Bilal's Transportation Inc., Crowley Maritime Corporation, Golden Boy Logistics, Dames Point Logistics, Duval Container, First Coast Cargo Group, Keith Pearson Toyota, Landstar, Mercedes-Benz USA LLC, Pods of Jacksonville, ViStar Credit Union, Watson Realty, and a special thank you to those who gave so generously to First Coast News Operation Sandy Relief. You demonstrated the true meaning of First for You by giving of yourself and making a difference in the lives of thousands of our neighbors to the north who are in need of our help.
And thank you once again for helping and for watching this special edition of Hurricane Sandy Relief.